ideally you want a trained psychiatrist around anyone dropping to it, especially in groups, right?
Hmm.
Because of picking up on other people's consciousness
Hmm.
or unconscious mind. But then it kind of gravitated to volunteers that had some education or felt that they could help control the situation. That's sort of mind
Hmm.
messing with people's minds stuff.
In not a
People
good
would
way.
maybe you've even seen it with people that designate themselves a sober driver.
Hmm.
Sometimes they tend to get very uptight by the end of the night.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's true. It takes
Now this is it for me, honey, or I'll get a little too.
yeah, you got it. Takes a lot of patience to be the sober person with the people. You gotta.
And they watch all this behavior and they think, man, you should be the one staying sober. I should have a few drinks. I could. But anyway, that. But I think that, you see, because I went into the hospital at 6 months old and didn't come out and blend into a family or deal with a one-on-one adult like a parent till I was 4. My mind and my unconscious, I don't think I had anywhere near, or I think only someone like me that was raised in a crib where hardly no one talked to me. And they walked me a couple, it was like kind of being a bubble child, but not. But
Yeah.
in other words,
Because
my
you're
mind
polio.
does work differently.
Because the polio.
Oh yeah, I had I just absolutely wasn't going to walk if I didn't have therapy every day. There
And
was no hope.
you were alone by yourself for a while,
Oh yeah, I mean my mother came to visit, and I don't blame her. Look how many kids she had.
huh? Yeah.
She came to visit, I think first, every weekend probably. Then once a month, and a couple of times a year. I mean the last, because finally they realized they weren't prepared really to have me home. They tried to have me adopted.
Oh wow. Wow.
They just let the hospital know, if there's interested people that want their own
Wow.
child traits, because there's that type of folks. I mean, because I was trained as a psych nurse in Brattleboro up at the retreat there.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that,
Shouts to the retreat, yeah.
yeah, autistic children and Down syndrome, when I was being trained,
Mm-hmm.
are very much wanted by certain people.
Huh.
They're, these children are unlucky to be born in families that don't want them, because there's some people that want to nurture an adult all their lives.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
They don't want to let
Oh,
them go.
yeah. That's interesting. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, okay. First question for you: where do you get your news? Do you get modern news? Who do you trust for news?
Okay,
Because that's what me and Gio were discussing. I go, I wonder who she does like for
okay,
news. Cause
okay, because I got real
maybe
interested.
nobody.
No, no, no.
Yeah.
Because I got very interested in financial markets when I was trying to get away from manual labor when
Yeah.
I got divorced and
Yeah.
went down to Florida. Um, and I've always read newspapers. That's a co-hout thing we always did.
Yeah.
And I used to
Information.
love, like, I wouldn't read the New York Times if anybody beat me with it. I don't really even really want to wrap my fish with it. I shouldn't say that. I love old copies of it when the news
Yeah.
is just too much propaganda.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what I read is, I did read the Wall Street Journal, and even through the first 5 years with Trump. Because, in the view that I have, Trump is doing a thing like Obama is being accused of doing. They're both operating kind of puppet governments while everyone's going crazy, going, who's making these decisions? But in my view, they're making them in line with some military op
Uh huh.
that's decided, yeah, we want the communists out, no
Uh
matter
huh.
what it takes. We're willing to disassemble the military. But anyway, so I was into the Wall Street, our family thing was New York Times, and I watched all the media TV growing up. But pretty soon I figured out if I wanted a real read on the world, because when I went to Spain as a kid, I was amazed how little I knew about anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought I'd been reading and listening to everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I started reading the Wall Street Journal, which the editorials, and then they always have a geopolitical section. Mine is geopolitical news. That's how I. Then when things started out really heating up, once the Q. Now Q was a series of drops. It wasn't Q anon. It was Q. And it was a series of military drops. And if you didn't have any decoding skills, you couldn't read the Q drops. So here's where some of the anonymous community that had been really into WikiLeaks and what
Yeah.
Assange was doing,
Yeah.
and then were really upset about Seth Rich. They started getting in touch with military that had been involved with decoding and special ops. Could you help us with this? And special boards were set up. And people like me, I got them third hand for a while until I understood what was going on.
Yeah.
I'd go to certain news channels over in the UK where they were slightly in rebellion. See, my thing is, it had to be anti-government and out of the mainstream media.
Yeah.
That's why I bucked a little with you when you suggested monetization with the YouTube thing. I'm so, because you see, the money thing for artists like me, where you're a performance artist, and they want to build a whole machine around you. Like,
Yeah.
by the time, if you are successful and you have 2 hits in a row, there's at least 100, if not 800 people that really need you to have that next hit.
Yeah.
And that, even that is a compromising situation.
That's what happened to Grateful Dead and Jerry. They had so
Come
many
on.
people dependent on them, they couldn't stop touring.
And then they got the suits showing up
Yeah.
telling them, you know what? I don't like where we're going with this song.
Yeah.
Let's get
That's
you in
true.
the studio and we'll re-record that. And
Yeah.
this is what, I mean, and I've
The
learned
machine
it
is a
firsthand.
beast. Yeah.
I learned it firsthand. I mean, this is the first guy I met. Stop me any second. I've already told you my ending story, but my first person I met flying into Nashville, my first time, because I flew in and out like 5 times. I got this great deal, so I booked 5 flights in it.
And how old were you?
I was after Jake got into high school. He was 16.
And
So
so
I
you
was
were ready.
divorced at 43.
You were ready to go all in on the music.
Oh, I was like, it's
That was
all
the
about
time.
this,
Yeah.
Jake.
Jake's
And
good.
he had told me to do it.
Oh,
I
cool.
said, oh,
Yeah.
honey, I'll be on campus while you're, get a little apartment.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just answer it.
No. I'm just pushing some buttons, so it's
Oh,
safe.
okay. So I said, I'm all set to move off island when you do. I don't want you to have to get. He was like, are you nuts?
Wow.
I loved it. He's like, you need to go to Nashville.
Wow.
Oh, I totally had his blessing. That's what made it.
Because you guys knew
Much
Nashville
more
was
fun.
Music City. You didn't need to go to New York or L.A. Nashville.
And not only that, see, it's the logical place if you're an American and a trained opera singer that has tried every other field.
Okay.
Well, I didn't try too hard with jazz, but I've done jazz.
You
I've
tried hard
learned-
with opera? You were deep in the opera game?
Well, I was part of an opera company,
Mhm.
and I worked towards a scholarship at Juilliard, because you have to have a master's degree, really, in music. All those divas and the tenors,
Mhm.
they were either awarded master degrees,
Mhm.
kind of like being awarded.
But you didn't want to go to Italy and be an opera star? You don't.
No, it wasn't that. There was a real. You haven't kind of gotten it that our dad had a real thing about we should all realize we were just regular Joes.
Okay. So,
He
yeah,
kept
yeah.
going to me, you're a nobody. You're a little nothing. Who do you think you
Well,
are?
but we
You
know.
got all these people
but
like
he
jumping
wanted-
around you, Kerry, going, oh, we want to help her. He goes,
But did he want it? Wasn't he a singer too? So it's not about
yes!
him. It was about
We
him.
talked about it later
Yeah.
when he was real old. He told me everything. He was so much fun to be with in his last.
What did he tell? What did he say? You say he told you everything. What did he say about?
Oh, well,
He
he
wishes
told
he
me.
had done singing more.
Oh, he was like, he goes, honey, I'm so sorry about, that you didn't
Yeah.
get that scholarship at Juilliard.
Uh-huh.
Because, I mean, all I had to do was write the paperwork and get his blessing.
Uh-huh.
My coach knew Dad meant a lot to me.
Uh-huh.
And that he had been opposed to me my entire adult life as a singer. He kept going. He'd say to me, well, honey, you know the story about the little kid that brings a boat down to the shore? And his dad's there with him. And he pushes the boat in the water and he looks at Dad and he says, Dad, I'm a sailor. And the father says, well, to me you're a sailor. To me you're a sailor, but to a guy walking by on the road, you're just a little kid with a toy. Dad was always like, haha, you get it? See, I loved him for that because then he says to me, you're right. And he said to me also, I didn't want you to have the pain and the heartache of a business. What a ruthless business.
Yeah.
And boy, did I learn that. See, I learned my dad was right about practically everything he said, Griff. I just wasn't ready to hear anyone opposed to my plans.
Yeah. Because you went to Woodstock to play too, right? You were confident early.
Oh, I didn't go to play. We had tickets to just go there and hunker
Okay.
down and listen to Jimmy.
Well, you told me you wanted to try to play. You and your girlfriend were going to try, but
Well, you know, you're always having that
yeah,
hope that they'll
yeah.
ask
So you
you.
started playing young. You were already playing by the time Woodstock happened.
Oh, I won my first singing contest when I was 11, singing a Neil Sedaka song,
Oh wow.
Alice in Wonderland.
Oh
The
wow.
kids went nuts. It was a 4-H camp, and all these really like, you see, when you're a kid and you're trying to do this, so I about from the age of 8 or 9, I'd been hooking up with kids, planning little plays in the
Yeah.
yard and singing. You know how it went. But by that time, I was 11 at camp. The kids had already turned into, they had already had stage moms.
Yeah.
They were well trained. They'd been
Right.
having music
They were
lessons.
already going pro. Yeah.
And all my kids from my neighborhood are going, Kerry, get in the contest. And I was like, no, I'll never beat them. They were like, totally. Everyone's, they're carrying me around on their shoulders. That's when I got the bug, Griff. I got the bug real bad. I was like, I love doing this. Matter of fact, before I was about to accept my scholarship and buck Dad's The Tide of Dad, because Dad had said I should choose between the family or Juilliard, and he called it Juilliard. He was like, "Oh yeah, that's the Jews are running that school. What is this thing you got about the Jews, Kerry?" And he told me about that later too. But anyway, at the time he said to me, you need to choose your family or this school. I don't want somebody
Oh.
like that in the
Oh,
family.
interesting.
You can't come back in. And of course, he was just saying that. See, all the time I've gotten ultimatums from men I love in my life, Griff.
Yeah.
I should have taken it with a grain of salt, walked
Yeah.
away, thought about it.
Take everything with a grain of salt.
Oh, I immediately felt like
So what happened when you went to Nashville? Jake went.
Nashville was a ball where
Jake, right? Yeah.
Jake went to live with Billy.
Right.
No, Jake was in college. I
Right.
didn't
Right.
do that while Jake
UMass.
was.
Shouts to UMass. Shouts to Western Mass.
No, I did do it while Jake was. Joey, my brother Joey came and stayed at our duplex with Jake while I went in and out of Nashville.
Yeah.
Joey had kind I Jake's dad, it's a kind of a bunker, but I'll make it quick. Jake's dad had made it a real point of honor to him and his buddies and lawyers that I shouldn't live on the island anymore because they couldn't believe I had given him all our assets. The whole thing was keep the property intact. It was his dream. And Jake would inherit it, hopefully. But they couldn't believe it. And Billy was like, it won't last. She'll change her mind. So he'd come into every job I had, have a talk with my boss, leave, kind of they'd give each other one of those, and then I'd be fired for whatever reason, or let go, or given. Finally, he let me know. He was like, "Yeah, I don't want you here." So I was there, like, just sitting up in my room. I had this duplex, but I had Joey staying there. He liked working on the island. He was working for Inquirer Mirror. He was just going in the middle of the night
Was
and
he involved in the pot growing?
collating all.
Was he involved with
He and
that?
I
No.
got a few little plants going at my new site, but
Yeah.
I couldn't get onto the property again.
Right.
Once Billy,
Yeah.
because we had a great site in Monomoy. But
Yeah.
you see, I couldn't get Jake into it.
Yeah.
He
The
could have
pot. The
carried
grow.
it on
The grow.
to grow. Oh,
Wow. Well,
Jake
we
was
could get
like
it back.
horrified.
It's never too late.
Well, he's into the pharmaceutical drugs.
Yeah.
His whole thing is that's criminal. It's one of the things we're fighting about.
Oh,
My thing is, honey,
I hear you.
I hate to report to you that yours is criminal.
Yeah.
It's just not identified yet.
It's poisonous. It's deadly. Killed a lot of our heroes.
So anyway, in Nashville, oh man, it was so much fun. So the guy I met at the airport was the lead singer in Alabama, which I had started listening to country. Because my opera coach, when she found out I had not accepted the scholarship, I was not going to proceed with classical music. She was like, "You're ready for country. Perfect." Because it's all emotion. I mean, it's a lot of
Right.
emotion.
Right. Yeah.
And it's always a big
It's very
story.
personal. Yeah.
A big story that you try to make it personal, like you
Right.
try to
Yeah.
make it small. But there are always the same markers in it. You have to have something really sad, something really thrilling, something about love or fortune,
Yeah.
something about the moon and the
So you had
stars. As
you had original songs, or were you mostly singing covers?
Oh no, it's all original.
Oh wow.
That's why I had a lot of excitement in Nashville. Like when I finally got to play at the Bluebird Cafe. That's the place in the years I
Okay.
was there.
Yeah.
Because I was there between 95 and 97.
Okay.
Once I did my 5 trips in, I kept going back and going back because it's such an environment, Griff.
Yeah.
If you like to play guitar, I'm like,
Oh, it was crazy. I was just there. It was music all day. I couldn't believe it.
yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
And the clubs, you go in
Yeah,
and you hear,
everywhere, everyone.
well, I had the most wonderful time, and I would have never gotten on the stage at the Bluebird Cafe if my girlfriend back in Boston hadn't been, because Boston was online on the internet before anybody else was.
Boston, the
Hooked
city,
up with
because the
MIT, yeah.
colleges. Okay, gotcha.
But the whole MIT thing, and Northeastern, they were really in on the. So she set me up a website on the internet before anybody in Nashville even had laptops or anything. So when I went in handing out cards, people looked at me like, "What is this?"
Cards with your music online.
I think she put a few samples,
Yeah,
but also
nice.
the internet hookup, with a picture in my
Yeah,
bio, and then
yeah.
I would be here at such and such a date. So guess who got back to us? Who was online? Because he was into a European thing like that. I don't know if you like any country rock, but Steve Earle, I love him.
Oh, yeah.
He got back to us.
You met him, or you just got the
No,
card
because
got to
finally
him?
he was in Europe.
Okay.
But and I don't think he would have gotten he would have gotten online with us right that year.
Yeah.
Because the lady that I handed my card out to that owned the Bluebird, she didn't get online until a year later, and I was still there. She comes rushing up to me.
Wow.
The headliner was on the stage. All the newbies,
Yeah.
they're called wannabes or newbies in Nashville.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
We're gonna give you a shot.
Yeah.
It's like getting a chance off the bench,
Of course. That's why you're there.
You only get 16 shots, and I've been number 17 out of the hat. I was like, okay, it's over. And the guy that I most admired as I studied and learned guitar, I couldn't believe my eyes when she told me, you got to get up there. My heart had been pounding. Like, I'm so thrilled to be in the same room that I'll be listening. I don't mind. I'm not playing today. And she goes, get up. I've already told him you're going to get ahead of him. I think I told you.
So you got up there.
Oh, yeah. And,
You got to get up there when they tell you.
You should have seen. It was Leo Kottke. I don't know if he used to play 12 string. I don't know. Do you ever listen to instrumental folk music without any singing?
A little bit. Richie Havens, Billy Strings.
Right. I mean, that's where Richie Havens got a lot of people were inspired by Leo.
I like David Bromberg too.
Oh yeah, he played with all these
Bromberg,
people.
yeah.
Great sideman.
Yeah.
But anyway, he was really doing a solo thing, and
Leo.
he was all tuned up. Leo Kottke.
Okay.
Kottke.
Okay.
The stage was the size of where you're sitting with this.
Oh, wow. Smaller than this porch.
He and I had to twirl you like a big card table or something.
Wow.
With
That's
steep
cool.
steps up to it and some railings and then lights and a mic, right?
A lot of people there.
Yeah, they want, I'd say 180 in an area the size of this yard and half of that.
And you crushed it. You guys killed it.
He says to me, I'm going past and we're doing this dance for me because I got my guitar.
Yeah.
He's got his. We're like inching around each other. He
Right.
gets right in my ear. He goes, he's like furious.
Oh wow.
There's this straight. He goes, you better be good.
Wow.
And I sat there. I was like, well, now if I'd been a kid, I would have screamed and cried. And
Right.
Heroes 43. I've been playing since I've been 10 or 11.
Don't
right?
meet your heroes.
I met my hero, and I'm like, what an amazing occasion in my life.
Yeah.
So I had especially rented this beautiful, the kind I would, if I had a bunch of contracts and some capital, I was going to put myself on the road, I would spend $1,200 or $1,400 for the kind of guitar I rented
Right.
for that occasion.
Nice acoustic.
Beautiful. It was a guild.
Gibson?
No, it was a guild. I love guilds because of the way they ring.
Oh wow.
See, people love guitars for different reasons.
Uh-huh.
Some for the action. If a guitar rings, because I'm really a rhythm guitarist. So
Okay.
I had this gorgeous jumbo rhythm guitar. But I rehearse strictly acoustic, right? But everywhere you go in Nashville, you gotta plug in. They just don't, there's
Yeah.
a sound man, there's an engineer.
Well, they want you to be heard outside. They want people pouring in.
And they want to know, can you handle the studio? So I hadn't checked out that this could plug in. So I'm there, I'm tuned up.
Yeah.
I'm just about to plug it in. And the thing's skittering off the back of and the whole audience is kind of like, because I'm doing pitter patter while I'm,
Yeah.
I know I have 3 minutes with them, right? So then I have to drop that gently so it doesn't go clunk on the, I mean, I'm wasting seconds here, Griff.
Yeah.
The man is standing there glowering at me like, already she's. I felt like Biden tripping up the stairs or whatever. And I'm there,
You
stay
gotta stay
cool,
frosty.
Kerry.
Stay frosty.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and this is supposed to be fun. You
I've
may
been
never
there.
do this again,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's good.
So
That's
the
pretty good if
legs.
you can remember that in the moment to
So
have
we.
fun.
Oh yeah,
That's
because
pretty
I'm there
good.
like. Well,
Have fun.
that's what an opera career has to train you for, because you're leading the orchestra.
Yeah.
People think the conductor is the diva.
Right. Is the star.
Well, no, it's not just you establish
Right.
the tempi, and you
Okay.
have signals to him. I'm going to slow this down.
Okay.
He learns to.
Right.
You're running the show, so you have to have a lot of control, or you're out of there.
Right.
You don't ever get another shot. So there I am. I get the mic. It's a gooseneck, which I hate. I get it just so, and I just decide to start. And I played a song that I just love, the Trashed Guitars. And I didn't give it an intro or anything. I said, we're ready to go. I gave the title, but no patter about writing it. And it just poured out of me. I was like, this is what my teacher trained me to do. You're actually supposed to get better in performance even than you get in rehearsal. You flip it around by the time you're...
You feed off the
Because
audience.
the adrenaline.
Adrenaline.
The adrenaline that doesn't bury you like my dad makes you strong, right? So I finish. Now, I had been coming to the Bluebird Cafe to try to get a spot on for 2 years off and on.
Yeah.
16 times, 15 times. We all clap like crazy for everybody. Everybody just looked at me like this. There was dead silence.
Oh.
And the words are really good. And it didn't occur to me. I was through the performance, right? And I've actually been trained also in not feeling crushed, depending on if a bunch of people don't show up, or if you don't get applause, you have to self-critic, and then you do an assessment later, right? So I'm kind of standing there, I'm like, and I realize I have to move, but I'm frozen. First time in my life, nobody clapped. First time. Except for at my dad's house.
That's strange.
Okay.
Well.
But Leo,
Yeah.
standing in the wings.
Oh, wow.
Oh man, he's so excited. He's like trembling. He's ready to like pull me, carry me down, set me on the ground. He leans into me. This time the man is, I'm sorry I'm shouting.
The same guy who just said this better be good.
The same guy.
Right.
He's gone from being like furious that he got delayed to being like tickle pink. He grabs me in closer like a nice buddy or like a boyfriend or my brother,
Yeah.
Grabs me and he goes, don't worry about it. You're just ahead of your time. Thank you so much. That was so much fun. So this, of course, I've taken this song to heart and I love it.
Ahead of your time in the 90s. Still,
Right.
Wow.
Yeah,
This wasn't the 60s, this is the 90s. You're still ahead of your time.
Yeah, well, you always want to be that, actually, if you're a writer, composer.
So your time is now.
I'm waiting to get the signal. I thought it was going to start in February.
What's the signal?
Well, it's a series of invitations.
From? They'll just appear.
From all, just
Who
to
knows?
appear.
Right.
Yeah. So I got invited at Thanksgiving to something I've been waiting for years to be invited.
Wow.
A trail ride.
Wow.
The end of one where there's a huge bonfire.
Okay. Around here.
Yeah. One of the cowboys.
Yeah.
That was a woman that has a lot of horses and part of the trail ride. She heard me sing at a Thanksgiving party. She comes up and she goes, do you ever do this in public for, for crowds you don't know? I was like, that's what I like.
That's why I'm here.
And she set it all up, and then she found out the guy had already set up a bunch of cowboys that were coming in with their guitars on the horses. It was all I was going to have to go down 2 hours. But here's another thing I've learned. Every time you get somebody to nibble, you don't put up a fuss or get all...
Right.
Because I did a good bunch of prep for them of country stuff. See, here's another thing I found out, Griff. People love to sing along.
That's true.
Even at concerts,
Helps
that
the
way
heart,
it's big.
helps the heart open up, the chakras. Yeah, that's what it's all about.
But those, what do they call them they're called anthems. One of the reasons I think John Mellencamp, for example, became so loved in America, people could sing and yell to practically every one of his songs. Well, you must see that with the Grateful Dead.
Exactly.
They know all the words, right?
And Neil.
Yeah. Which I was thinking later that we'll play that one.
And
for
now
George
Billy
on the guitar.
And now Billy Strings. I'm just
Oh,
learning the songs, and the people already know every word to all the
oh,
songs
see, this
already.
is what I mean. These
Yeah,
people come along, and it hits a chord somewhere, right?
yeah.
And that's one of the things that's key thing I learned by my piano coach that had been coached by the guy coached by Brahms. She said it's all about the pulse. It's all about the heart and respirations. You can have the most brilliant prodigy, particularly on the piano and the violin. They can be all over the place. They can shoot out brilliant colors. If the pulse, if there isn't a thread, even at a rapid, you can have boop, 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 boop.
Yeah.
But there's this thread, this lovely pulse that some people, this is why you could be on a dance floor with this kind of music, any kind, any variety, but with the pulse right. You could see people moving really quick, flipping each other. You could see other people going like,
Mhm.
everybody's perfectly in time
Mhm.
because there's a pulse. That's been one of my few.
We call that at the Billy Strings and the Deadhead shows. My buddy says it's called the mushroom stew. It all
Oh, I
vibes,
love
even though
it.
it's different speeds. It all vibes together.
There you go, there you go, and it's so beautiful. And look, this is what it's going to really, what we're preparing people like my brother George for, my son Jacob, many old ladies I love around here, another women my age, older women, um, preparing them to accept the super reality or the phenomenal world we're aware of so they can start to blend and step into the fifth dimension with us.
Mhm.
You see, they have all these
Are
like
we in the
light
Are we in the
keepers.
fifth event? What is the fifth dimension?
Oh, we've moved into the fifth
So we're
dimension.
there now, even though
Once
we're
we
still.
realize there's a possibility
Okay. Yeah.
and that the reality, this is the thing about, in mysticism they have like the hallmark remark is, as above, so below.
Yes. It must be
Heard that.
balanced.
Right, as
Yeah.
above. And then you had these analysts, jump away from Freud, like Jung, Adler, Otto Rank, because they all were they said he had gotten it wrong about women, hysteria, and penis envy. He needed to move into the dark shadow part and people dealing with that part of themselves in light, the dark and the light, the dark
The
and the
dark
light.
can teach you a lot because when you learn about yourself, you learn about the whole world. And
And people, letting themselves be in it and how are they going to handle it and this idea of creating a lot of anxiety and fear around dark areas or big questions. Well, now
so, did
this
we skip the fourth dimension? We went right to the fifth. What's up with the fourth?
well, the fourth most of us moved into in the 70s, 80s and
Okay.
90s.
Okay.
See, you felt the repercussions of the end of it.
Okay.
That's why I think your adolescence, because you see, Griff, certain people
The '80s had a fascist
went
vibe
through
with it.
it like too smoothly. They
Okay.
didn't get bent a little by it.
It's better to get bent.
Oh, yeah, because, hey, the minute you start asking yourself, am I crazy?
Yeah.
What's going on? Or you have some crazy times, and then the more grave you get
Yeah.
about life, because
Yeah.
you realize, oh boy,
Yeah.
not only is the earth moving, but I mean, we're also volatile.
Right.
Look, this is why quantum healing is so thrilling.
I was just reading in this book, Breaking Open the Head,
Mm-hmm.
how our DNA itself puts out photons all the time. So the DNA, so the quantum healing is constantly.
Totally. And the pattern, like for example, the pattern of my correct body that wasn't damaged, it's
Right.
all that's what
Right.
the med bed will be reading off of.
Right.
And
You'll
that's
just
why,
return to your true self.
oh yeah, and that's why
Yeah.
it'll be done in a series. It may take, several visits where I'll feel a little like, growing pains kid have when they grow up fast.
Yeah.
People didn't used to believe in it, but with
Yeah.
camera work, they
For
could do
sure.
slow motion and fast motion, and you see the kid's knee going.
Right. Well, I think
That's what'll happen to me with muscle
with
and
all this
bone.
blood I'm been donating, I think I'm still growing. I think it's not stopping.
Well,
But I'll
you
find out.
see, this is
We're
what,
all science
well,
experiments. Yeah.
the idea is if we could all see ourselves with X-ray vision, which many people in that have come out of the fourth dimension and into the fifth now.
Right.
See, if you meet a diagnostician,
You looking for the Men in Black?
oh no, I'm just
Yeah.
listening to that and I'm like, They're also going to start zooming in here. If you see they're using them more and more police departments and hospitals. They have a secret file
Okay.
for a psychic diagnostician. In other words, it's a form of telepathy.
Right.
I should say it's a form of.
But what do they call those people?
They're calling this our ESP, expanded sensory
Right.
perceptions.
Right.
All
Right.
right. Well, you have the kind, like for example, the kind of expanded sensory perception I have is within dreams. I have predictive dreams.
Okay.
And it used to startle me, but I take them very seriously now
Right.
because they always come true.
Oh,
So
yeah.
if it's a heads up or a message or
Yeah.
something, I act on it.
Yeah.
Or I just learn something.
Right.
Okay? Then you have people that see things. Now, because I spent a lot of time alone in the woods after Dad died,
Okay.
when the weather was good, because wasn't allowed to go in the cabin. That whole thing got weird. So I was in the woods, and I'd never really lived
Which is
in
better,
a lot.
anyways.
It was fabulous. And that's when I started learning how to see the
Were you in a
elementals.
car? Were you in a
I'd sleep in the car, but
tent?
it was
El-
July, August, and
elementals, as in gnomes, elves.
I have some great pictures of them. Oh, you can't believe some of the tree people look like.
Wow.
They'll form right out of the leaves.
Wow.
They'll start moving for you, and the wind will shape them, and they'll be there for a while.
Wow.
Oh, and then the way the river moves, that West
Yeah.
River is. And then I had a dream one night. See, I got to the point being in there where then I knew I had slid back into the fourth dimension. Then I would be ready for the fifth
Uh-huh.
when it comes. It's not.
I've
It's
had
going to
some.
come after this solar event probably.
That's why
It's
we're
going
here.
to be
That's why
like
I'm here now. We're here to. This is the beginning of the solar event.
preparation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so because I'm longer and longer in the woods by the river. Here's something that Gurdjieff really made a point of, and other of these masters, like Helen Blavatsky. In order for your consciousness to raise, you have to experience shocks.
Huh.
Now, they could be self-imposed shocks.
Electrical shocks.
Well, no, like the shock of someone like me, say, determined to stay in the woods and sleeping till like
Yeah.
sleeping to 8 below 0
Yeah.
when I've slowly made my body learn to be colder and
So you
colder.
need the
The
physical.
shock of deprivation, some
Yeah.
kind of physical.
Right.
Um,
Fasting is.
the way monks and
Yeah.
saints in the desert, they would create the shock. That's what, you see, it wasn't to punish themselves or the Sikhs. The flagellation is to create the shock to the
Yeah.
system, to get the chakras to line up
Right.
dramatically at
Right. Correct.
once.
That's why I like to give blood. Every time I give blood, I evolve a little bit.
There you
Just a
go, the
little
shift,
bit.
some kind of
The universe
shift.
powers you back up. Yeah.
So that people, that's why I said, if someone like my mother who insisted the rules were only nice, nothing unpleasant at the table or when you
Right.
tell me how
Of
school was.
course. Of
You
course.
remember the
Yeah. Yeah.
rules.
Yeah.
Well,
A sweet
what?
grandma.
That was Adler's and Otto Ranks, Wilhelm Reich.
Huh?
Because he wanted to move into orgasmic energy. How crucial it is. Uh, that he felt that because people had to ignore the dark, that they viewed sex, intimacy, or sexuality, particularly in light of women ever speaking of it, or, that some bar had to be kept there.
Yeah.
And that's why Freud was having so much financial success with his hysteria thing. Because women were still not allowed to explore their dark sides, dress as men, smoke cigars,
Yeah.
without being outcast. But anyway, so the whole idea of the shocks, Gurdjieff said, was so important to self-realization because the shocks, at that moment, you're shedding one of your skins of just civilization, no matter how high we
Your
get.
programming.
No matter how we try to keep our consciousness raised, we bump back to habits of thought, particularly. In other words, look, one of the things my brother finally I got it more through realization was when the S back the arrow in the bow, he became one with the entire environment. The arrow was already in the, and he was meanwhile saying a prayer. I hope you don't mind this arrow's
Yeah.
come into your breast. He was naming the exact spot. He was getting all the elements. And if it wasn't going to go right, and the arrow wasn't going to carry, the braves around him that were hunting with him,
Yeah.
or himself if he was alone, there would be a signal somewhere in the environment.
You're right.
That he'd pick up and step away.
Yeah, it's true. For sure.
And otherwise, it was all kind of a dance.
Because I've gone hunting, and when you actually get something, it happens very easily. You just get the perfect shot without.
Right.
But and then one time we were in the woods.
And
One time we had a little hunting party. We had BB guns, we had crossbows, and there was a big deer, and we were all about to shoot it. And what happened? George popped up in front of it.
Oh no!
He was following us around, and we're about to shoot this deer with all the stuff, and he goes, "No!" So there you go.
See, that's what I was going to say.
There you go.
George is one. It's very rare to find such a nice guy as George that survived.
Yeah.
That's why we don't want to rattle him.
Yeah.
I don't want to make anybody feel despair or.
Well, he's a good nature boy. He's a real nature boy.
Yeah, just real good. So anyway,
speaking of the Eskimo, when I went to Farm Aid last year, my friend Sheila came with me from Chicago, and she's kind of she's a spiritual healer.
Yeah,
We'll just call her healer. But she did
Into
some Reiki on me and
crystals
stuff, and
yeah.
she said she had a vision where in a past life I was a seal hunter up at one of the poles because she could see me laying out the teeth and stuff. And I go, oh, that makes sense because I like to be out in the bad weather. I love bad weather.
That is so beautiful.
Yeah.
When you get a glimpse of your past life.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
So yeah, my last night in the West River, before I knew I had to get it had snowed there. Michael had to come and haul me. He rigged up a thing and hauled me a little bit up where I was going to maybe go sink into the river. It was getting
your
so
vehicle.
icy and slippery.
Okay,
Yeah, my vehicle.
Yeah, got you.
So I knew I had to leave, but I went to sleep my last night. I mean, I'll tell you how nice it was because I was on the other side of the river from Rainy Del Valley. So I had the state police checking on me all the time. They'd come and sit above me, but I knew their times, you know.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, a few times they were like, just checking up on you. You all right? And I loved it.
That's cool. That's good police.
Yeah,
that's what they're supposed to
that's
do.
the way it should be, right?
Yeah.
So, I go to sleep. I put the chair back, right? Yeah, I'm looking out at the river.
Yeah. Police respect people they know are really tough. And, yeah. They
saw my little fires. I was smoking weed. I was making
they know you're
good.
cool.
And I kept a clean campsite.
You were one with the earth.
I really was. So I'm going to sleep. My head's back, and I go, look, I've got a feeling if I could see this valley and these rocks without all the trees here, I may see something and learn something that will explain to me why I'm feeling all this magnetism and seeing all these elementals in the trees.
Wow.
So please give me a dream and let me fly over the valley. And all my head goes, whoomp. See that? Whenever I've gone out of body, I fit now. See, I'm not an easy sleeper. I'm an insomniac.
Right.
That's why George is so nice.
Right.
He knows I come alive around dark, you know.
But then you started flying.
Okay, so, yeah, I always know, because I got to check out Jake's place in Brooklyn this way.
Wow.
I ask, and then my head goes, and it's like a vacuum occurs.
Astral projection.
It's like,
wow.
And I'm up and out, so I'm flying it, and it was beautiful, because I recognized certain stuff. I was like, this is what I wanted, good. Well, it was all lapis lazuli. It was all blue rock. With like navy blue veins and bits of glitter. I couldn't believe the amount of lapis lazuli I was seeing. And I woke up from the dream and I saw Hobie and Joe, which I'll always see there in the rocks. They have a beautiful, it's almost like somebody decided, more the size of here, maybe 8 to 10 foot tall, as opposed to Mount Rushmore. Hobie and Joe each have a beautiful head there.
In the rocks.
Carved in the rocks.
Wow.
I'll show you someday, or I'll tell George where it is and see if you could go across the river. But of course, in my dream, I saw it because I got all the bush out of there.
You didn't know it was there till you saw it in the rocks.
I saw glimpses of it. That's another thing I want. Because I would perch. There's a really, if you pull off the road right across from the gas station on Route 30, there's a nice area under the tree. I claim that as mine.
Okay.
The guys that were used to hunting there, they were furious with me. They were like whacking on the hood of my car, like, we want to be alone here. We don't want you here, Kerry.
I just saw a bunch of big deer here on the way. You got
Oh,
some nice ones here.
everybody gets good deer meat
Yeah.
here. You know, and there's all kinds.
When did you first hear about Phil Schneider?
It was, okay, I was going to tell you some of the people that I started learning stuff, and then you watched how quickly they got bought. They
Or
started
disappeared.
getting,
If you don't get bought, you get off.
oh, yeah, disappeared maybe with stories.
Yeah.
Like,
Or they get ruined. They get if you don't get bought out, they'll ruin you
Yeah,
somehow.
I mean, like, okay,
Ruin your
so
cred.
it was on McAllister TV
Oh, never. What's that?
out of Florida. I used to love her, but she got really, her name is Linda Paris. And I don't think she got bought or corrupted. I just think she got way over cranked up.
My fault. You think she got cranked up?
On all the Trump stuff and all.
Okay, yeah.
She just started going way over
Sometimes our
and losing
attentions
that
get
nice.
diverted. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm not comfortable if anybody goes overboard on anything, really.
Right.
I mean, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Except maybe rocks
Right.
and cooking.
Yeah, I like
you know.
cut and dry issues rather than
Kids,
politics. It's so murky. I'd rather battle big pharma than politics and the
Yeah.
candidates.
But I'll tell
Earth
you
medicine.
one of my big heads up was the final nail in the coffin of my 4D and 3D life.
Okay.
Because 4D has ways that nails you to the ground too.
Okay.
You know, 4D, you're aware of stuff and you're implementing occasionally whatever your telepathic powers are that you've managed to
Yeah.
bring to the fore that got you into 4D,
Yeah.
but you're still mechanical.
Right.
It's not coming like you said where, like that's the way I know I'm shooting good pool. It's almost like the cue's flowing out of my
the basketball.
arm.
The basketball's a good example.
Yeah.
Some days you don't think at all.
Well, the same stuff totally goes with extrasensory perception. Because I was going to say, then I developed my hearing. That there are auditory
Okay.
as well.
I believe it.
But my favorite, and one that I never thought I would experience, and I experienced, it's a combination of auditory and visual in the presence of extreme grief on my part or part of someone I love.
Mm-hmm.
And my first one was, and I told you, my mermaid dream where I slithered off the couch in Florida, swam up the East Coast,
Oh, wow.
swam up to Nantucket where everyone but my Jake's cousin, Billy's second cousin, was my first kid. He legally emancipated himself from a nasty divorce at 14.
Okay.
Went to judges, got himself free, came to the island, and started working carpentry. His grandfather called me and told me, he loves you, will you take care of him? So he had dinner every night for years. And the divorce was one of the hardest things about being divorced because I lost my cousins and in-laws. It was just a problem with me and Billy.
Yeah.
I got along with everybody, honey. But I hadn't heard from him, and his grandfather called me right before he died, and he says, he knew, nobody talked to me, and he goes, you remember my promise. You look out for Christopher. And I was like surprised, but I was like, okay, he means this way.
Yeah.
Where you pray, you think, and of course,
Mm-hmm.
my door's always open. So I pulled myself up on the shore in Nantucket as a mermaid. I'm still swimming.
Wow.
I'm there right where the boats come in, and the way you could lower a boat into the water. My friends were all around a bonfire. Everybody I knew that would come to my parties, and no Christopher. I was like, in my dream, I woke right up and I jumped into my car. I called my boss. I said, you got to give me at least 3 days. I got to get north and come back.
Wow.
Because to me, that was what it meant, that this was the time Chris needed me.
Yeah.
Something maybe had happened where he'd been harmed.
That was the whole point of the dream.
I got a call in that
Yeah.
dream. Well, I drove faster than I ever have in my life. Now I've
From
done
where?
that run from Miami.
From Miami to Nantucket?
No, Miami to New York City
Okay.
first.
Okay.
Because that's where I called Jake.
Okay. You could have called from Miami. Could have him go check out Chris.
No, he was already at school at
Yeah.
college in
Yeah,
Amherst.
yeah.
Matter of fact, I didn't
It was your
call him
mission.
from there.
It was your mission.
I stopped there,
Yeah.
got a slice. That's why I
Gotta
was
get a
little
slice.
Oh, honey,
Yeah.
that's why I was. No pizza in Texas could ever, or
Oh
flour and
yeah.
cheese.
No, no.
It just ain't like
Yeah,
that. But
yeah.
anyway,
It's the water.
I stopped there, get a slice, and I'm like, nope, I'm going over the bridge. I'm going to Vermont. I'll check in there, get some rest, whatever it is. I can't help but I'll. Jake didn't want me on the island if his dad didn't want me there. And I felt like he's a teenager. His whole world's been rocked.
Yeah.
I got to at least let him be the gatekeeper. If he doesn't feel good,
Uh-huh.
I can't come battling. You know, I didn't go back till I was invited, which was like 5 years later. But
Yeah.
anyway, I get home to Vermont. I had hardly ever seen the house deserted.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Nobody was there. I went inside, the phone was ringing.
Whoa.
I opened the door, the phone's ringing, I took it off. It was my best friend in Nantucket. She goes, oh my God, Kay, I'm so glad you're there.
Wow.
She said, Christopher just was killed. He's dead. She said, I stood there. I was like, I like leaned, like this, you
Wow.
know. I said, well, I mean, I was like, Allison, how do you know? I mean, she said, well, he was just setting the roof cap on his roof and he invited my husband over to watch him. You know, it's a big thing, the last thing. You put a piece of, my husband pulled up in his truck and Chris went to go, yay! And he slipped and he broke his neck, Kerry. We feel terrible about it. I'm like,
Yeah.
I hung up the phone. I stood there. I was like,
You weren't surprised.
Lord in heaven, of course. I mean, I was
Yeah.
like, call Jake. So I called Jake and I said, Jacob. I didn't call him a lot.
Yeah.
He and I were working out. He was pretty pissed at me for moving and
Yeah.
having him go back to stuff. See, every time somebody gets pissed at me, I feel like you got to right to your feelings. I might get out of the line of fire, but anyway. There's a long silence. He says, no, you do not need to be there. He said, if something has happened, how reliable is this information? I didn't tell him about the dream.
Yeah.
It'd be like telling George. Jake could be like, what the?
Right, right, right. It's not reliable
I said,
information.
honey, I just stepped in the door here. Allison called me. It all happened suddenly in the last 10 minutes.
Uh,
It just was strange timing and me coming in from.
yeah.
He goes, okay, I'll call Dad. He was in Amherst, so he
Yeah.
calls Nantucket. He goes, Dad says, who did you hear this from? Kerry. See, the way a lot of bad stuff is, my official thing is that I make stories up, that
Right,
nothing I
right,
say
right.
is true.
Right, right.
So Billy goes and he calls my friend that told me. She goes, my God, yes, 20 minutes ago. So he calls Jake and says, tell her she may not come to the island of the funeral. She's not welcome.
Oh, yeah. Well,
So I sit down. The whole reason I'm telling you this is not to fuss and moan. I go and sit in the living room, like pondering. I'm alone. I say out loud, because I love that living room. You know,
yeah.
the lights
Oh,
come in.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm alone in the house. Very rare. I say, Uncle Arthur, the one I just loved, Grumpy,
Yeah.
Jake's great great granduncle, the one that married JP's favorite niece, the whole JP thing. Uncle Arthur was a trip, but I say, Uncle Arthur, I know I made you a promise, and here the boy I love, my first child, really, he's gone, and here I know, and I'm here. But my child, my own Jacob, I said, I don't want to rock the boat. Please help me, Uncle Arthur. I said this all out loud, and I'm sitting there. I all of a sudden, I mean, the hair standing back up on the back of my neck. I stood. Christopher's voice. Just, I mean, I knew and loved it. Like I would recognize your voice anywhere, honey.
Yeah.
And all my Jake and all my people out. And he said my name different than anybody because he was raised in West Virginia there in Charlotte.
Oh, yeah.
Kerry, Kerry, I just wanted you somewhere near where I could say goodbye. Now, oh, I didn't tell you, I made the run from Miami to New York City in 14 hours.
Wow.
I've done it so many times, and I did decide to jump over where it felt right. I was really trying to use my ESP.
Yeah.
So I did 90 in a lot of spots,
Yeah.
and I pull it back. But it took me another 2 hours. I did it fast on Route 91. So 16 hours I've been driving. So I'm like, there was a little snow on the ground, right? Outside. So that was you, George. We're almost done. It's the very end of my story. I splashed a little snow on my face, and I'm like, Okay, I gotta go back in the house. That was not a ghost. It was me being overtired. I go back in the ghost and I hear Chris's voice. And he says, Kerry, he says, I know you love me. He says, I'm going to say goodbye to everyone who loves me now for a little while. And he said, don't worry about anything. And then I just stayed there, went back to Florida. Jake told me about all the proceedings. And at the proceedings, Christopher's brother stood up and his eulogy was, I didn't see my brother for the last 7 years. We used to be very close. I don't even remember why I got angry with him. But now he's gone. And as I stand here and think about it and look around this room, I realize that's kind of a family style of ours. And he said, let's, in Chris's name, from now on, let's try to like call each other up and figure it out when we get angry, if we love each other. And Jake told me, Jake's the one that told me this. He and I were like thrilled. He said, and he really checked out who was crying and who wasn't. A lot of people cried after that. They were like, yeah, because that was a real family style. And that, but many families.
So he brought the people together.
But that's enough of that, babe.
brought
We're
the people
ready to
together.
talk about.
We'll be back. We'll be back later with some Phil Schneider talk, some aliens, some
didn't get to do
Bigfoot.
the
You didn't get any
quantum
Phil
healing.
Snyder in, really?
That was some music stuff on
Oh, that's
Nashville,
good.
and you know.
Music, yeah.
We did do some stuff, but I did let.
Your boy Andrew Tate. Oh, go on. No,
I
no.
was going to say Griff led. Griff was the producer. Okay.
Oh, good. Your boy Andrew Tate's been in the news lately because there's all these theories that the bridge in Baltimore was planned by by somebody. It wasn't just an accident.
Oh, and he's
So
kind of speaking out about that.
He's leading the charge. That yeah.
Oh, I love it that you're thinking about Andrew Tate.
No, Griff just turned me on to him.
My
a little
buddy
bit.
just beat him in chess a couple games in
Right.
Venice, so that's
Oh,
all.
that's
That's all I know about him,
That's
really.
right.
Well, what
Right.
about Ryan Garcia?
Yeah.
Keep that name in mind. Read some of Ryan's stuff he's talking about.
Let's talk about
Wrestlers.
making
Okay.
a fire.
All right, and we have to, George,
Yeah.
I have things
Start.
set
We'll
up
be
for
back.
you. Would you step in? We're going to open the yakitori grill.